Well, with me now to discuss those trade talks is Sam Zhao, Director of the Center for China-U.S. Cooperation at the Josef Korbel School of International Studies at the University of Denver. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here.
So, given the pace that we're seeing for these meetings and the sort of content, what do we know about where China-U.S. trade talks stand right now and how close they are on the main sticking points?
I'm sure they have made progress in the last several rounds. Otherwise, the U.S. delegation will not be in Beijing. And I heard there are a lot of changes, and the agreement they tried to MOU started. They become more specific in the process, but there are still a lot of problems they have to deal with, such as the forced technology transfer and the subsidies to the state-owned enterprises and some other issues, currency issue. There are many other issues they have to work out. On the U.S. side, I think there is some kind of pressure from the president side, Trump. He wants to reach agreement because the U.S. economy has been somehow hurt by this trade friction or trade war, and stock market is watching the result of this negotiation. On China's side, I think China has also made some accommodation adjustments, even I say retrenchment in their positions, try to accommodate U.S. demands. But I think still there are some gap. This gap could be difficult in the final stage to resolve. That's why we don't see the summit in March. I don't know if they can take place in April.
Right.
Hopefully we can see that in June.
Now, we did see that Premier Li reaffirmed that forced technology transfers are not allowed and also that intellectual property infringements would face harsh penalties, issues that we know have become key importance in these U.S.-China trade talks. How are these changes being perceived both by domestic and international companies?
I think they want to see how they are enforceable. China has made a lot of promises in the past years. China has agreed on the intellectual property rights side, which is in China's interest, and also on the technology transfer side. But how to establish some type of institutional instruments, way to make sure those promises could be implemented in the future. That, I think, is the key here for the Western companies to watch for.
And in that same vein, at the Boao Forum, we saw that Premier Li said that there need to be regulations and rules introduced to support this new foreign investment law. How far do you think that will go in terms of assuring foreign investors, given the situation with implementation?
This foreign investment law adopted in the last session of the National People's Congress is some kind of progress. They met the intellectual property rights protection and also the technology transfer into the law to protect the foreign investors in technology and also intellectual property rights. But from what I heard in the West is that those are still very general, not in a very specific ways, and also enforcement mechanisms are not very clear. Here, another issue I heard a lot is that and they talk about foreign companies in China will get national treatments, just like Chinese firms. That even means a retreatment from the previous position because the foreign companies had some favorable treatments. So these preferential treatments are taken away while they are not in a very specific protections from the Chinese law. This will make some foreign companies very concerned, I think. So there's a long way for the Chinese government to convince the Western companies the enforcement is in place.
So given where we are now in the trade talks and given that China's economy is slowing, what should we be watching for in China's economy this year?
I think the Chinese economy is slowing down very, very clearly. And the trade war, the end of the trade war will certainly help the Chinese economy. So for the Chinese side, they really want to see the trade war come to an end. U.S. will lift those tariffs on China. In the U.S. side, I think U.S. side is also very concerned about the economic slowdown. The U.S. economic cycle has been so clear. Every 10, 12 years, we see the cycle. Now, since last financial meltdown is almost about 10 years, and also global economic environment is also very difficult for U.S. side. So the trade war for the U.S. economy is also very important indication for the U.S. economic continued growth. In fact, the stock market, I think, is on hold for the to see what would work out after this round of negotiation, which I don't think will have specific progress
and certainly much of the world watching. We'll have to leave it there, unfortunately. Sam Zhao, Director of the Center for China-U.S. Cooperation at the Josef Korbel School of International Studies at the University of Denver.